June 2025 marked a turning point for Iran as the Islamic Republic faced its biggest challenge in decades following a devastating military confrontation with Israel and great power United States. What started as Israeli strikes on the 13th of June targeting Iranian nuclear and military installations quickly escalated into a full-scale tit-for-tat regional conflict that would go on to reshape the Middle East and the geopolitics of the region forever in a very short period of time, and we're going to cover it today. On June 13th, Israel launched a surprise air offensive, illegally flying over Syrian and Iraqi airspace to fly into Iran, with Israeli infiltration units having disabled Iranian air defenses in advance. The stated Israeli objective: cripple Iran's nuclear capabilities and degrade their conventional military assets. The real goal: drag the United States into the war and use your America-backed military to destroy Iran, force regime change, and position Israel to be able to establish a greater Israel in the years to come. Made possible by no regional powers left that openly oppose the Israeli state. Israel becomes, in essence, the regional dominator, the regional hegemon. Iran is the last bastion standing in their way. So they proceeded. June 13th, the strikes targeted key installations across Iran, dealing significant damage to the republic's perimeter anti-air defenses and doing surface damage to their nuclear facilities. But Israel wasn't acting alone. To their delight, 8 days into the conflict, on June 21st, the United States stepped into the ring, with B-2 bombers striking the three major Iranian nuclear sites at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, demonstrating a shocking escalation. The leading nation of the West had directly struck the Iranian state. Iran's response was swift and dramatic. The Republic launched hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones against Israeli military targets from the day Israel started their attacks, all the way back on the 13th. And when the US stepped into the ring, Iran did the unthinkable. Unthinkable just only a few months back. Unthinkable on the world stage. They aimed their missiles at Al Udeid airbase, a US airbase in Qatar. Why does Qatar have a US airbase? That's a different story. Coming back to this. On June 23rd, just 2 days after America's June 21st B-2 bombing run over Iran, Al Udeid was attacked by Iranian missiles, signaling the first time in close to 50 years that Iran had directly attacked American assets, an American military target. The attack on Al Udeid caused no casualties, and by analytical assessment, rather than represent an escalation, it could be concluded it was the tit to the American B-2 bombing tat. Like it was like a tit for tat. And American and Iranian, not agents, but American Iranian officials behind closed doors, I don't know how that's behind closed doors, coordinated so that there would be no casualties when Iran attacked. Coordinated so that there would be no casualties when the B-2 bombing run did its flight over Iran. And after Iran's strike on Al Udeid, Trump announced a ceasefire, declared the same day Iran attacked, June 23rd. Israel was left furious. What they thought was the US entrance into the war, like they wanted, the pivotal moment that would mark the end of the introduction to the conflict and would be followed by the full film, right? US invasion, boots on the ground, a completely destabilized Middle East, which Israel rises to the top of, to use an analogy of a film, turned out to be something completely different from what the Israelis had in mind. This wasn't the intro to the film being wrapped up for the main sequence now. This was the closing credits, and the US made a celebrity cameo appearance in the final scene. A ceasefire was agreed after some confusion, some denial by Iranian officials, and after some alleged violations on both sides. I predicted, for example, it would take 24 to 72 hours to stabilize. This is how ceasefires work between great nations. It's not an on and off switch. A lot of the time there's a little simmering down. Eventually, it dies down and then it shuts off. In the end, so far as I can tell at the time of this recording, in the end, peace prevailed. It's now being called the 12-day war. Domestically, the Iranian state has turned inwards with resolute efficiency. Mass arrests, mass arrests, damn it, executions even, and military deployments have intensified to cleanse the country, as it were, of infiltrators, spies, Mossad agents, etc. They hope, particularly, now they hope that they can get rid of the Mossad agents, is what I'm saying. Particularly in the western Kurdish ethnic regions of Iran, this was heightened. The activity was heightened, right? As authorities feared. How long is this video, bro? Why am I stumbling so far? It's like my stamina's gone. Anyway, as the authorities fear, infiltration is easier in these western parts where the population is far from the geographic and political center of the country, and ethnically they are not the Persians, etc. etc. There's many, and culturally they have their own ambitions over Kurdistan. They're easier to potentially easier to manipulate. Israel has a history of pretending to support minority rights in rival countries, to use that as a wedge to widen the cracks found in the enemy. The Druze in Syria are another example. But coming back, Iran came out of these 12 days battered, their surface nuclear facilities hit hard, leveled in some cases, but they survived. The defender being able to force a ceasefire is an effective win. And so this war ends in what is called a white peace, unconditional surrender by neither side. Iran survived, and Operation Rising Lion has left the Persian Lion weaker militarily in air defenses, certainly, and nuclear technology infrastructure, undoubtedly, but stronger diplomatically, and with a galvanized population that largely supported the steadfast actions of their state in opposition of a hostile foreign aggressor. That's the full picture for you in under 7 minutes. For more unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfouz, and I'll see you on the next one. If you're watching this today, there should be a live at 7 p.m. See you there.